How you doing? Uh-huh. Checking on the sunflowers.
Oh.
The seeds. Okie doke, so I am on a step stool and this is one of the sunflowers that it's drooping, and I'm looking to see if the stem is going to end up supporting the head. I'm going to cover it with some leftover tulle fabric. I'm going to I use these clamps. This is the first time I've had these this season. And we'll see if we can get it somewhere around the stem, just so it doesn't fall off in the wind and in the rain. You want to make sure that it's a breathable cover. You don't want to create an opportunity where there's like mold could set in. Good morning.
I told you could have caught it early.
So yeah, I don't know if this one's so bent. Like normally they'll droop when the heads are heavy. So I'm hoping that this continues to support like the life in the sunflower until the seeds develop. So just in case it does, I am covering it since I can reach it. And I'll let the birds and the bees have the others. It has drooped quite a bit more. And so I'm just gonna see if I can get on my tiptoes. And I can just tell immediately the seed is much more dry. So we are going to harvest this one. Okay, so we put a cover using the tulle fabric on this one, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago maybe. So the signs of when the sunflowers are ready to harvest are yellowing or browning of the back of the head, and then the petals that cover the seed, once they start to fall off, the seeds themselves are about ready to harvest. I'd really like to stop here, but I'm gonna go one more. Open them up, and if they are firm and dry inside, still a little raw. Okay, so we're back at it again. One of my neighbors asked me how tall the sunflowers were, and I said, I'm not sure. But I said, well, the ladder is 8 feet. And he's like, that ladder's taller than 8 feet. And I was like, is it? And I looked, it's a 10-foot ladder, which made me just a tinge bit nervous to realize that's what I've been climbing on top of. But we will continue to work on protecting these sunflowers. So today I am using, this is like the really thin landscape fabric. And I found some more kind of spare tulle fabric, but I'm thinking I could use that to actually cover some vegetables. So I'm trying to make do with some other things to cover the sunflowers. I like the tulle fabric because it's not as noticeable just from an aesthetic standpoint, but we'll pretend like this is maybe like Halloween decorations or something. So yeah, and I actually got plenty of this, which I don't use anymore for covering, as a weed barrier. It's just really not effective for that. Oh, and I have these other things here because I wasn't sure what would fit better over this head. So I wanted to bring some options up here as I climbed up here. Okay, so we are going to cut these down and timber. One more, a couple more actually. See if I can catch this one. There we go. As my mom would say, your playhouse is coming down. Last year, I made it into October before I actually cut down my sunflowers. Just hadn't got around to it. And they actually were unbothered by the squirrels. But This year, the squirrels have been much more aggressive. You can even see where they have dug into this old pillowcase to try to get inside and get to the seed. So we're going to go ahead and bring our sunflowers to a close this year and harvest the seeds. Okie doke, so we are harvesting sunflower seeds. I have a bunch here. I have a couple, 3 or 4 or 5 heads down here, a couple over there. For varieties, like this is either the American Giant or the Mammoth. Don't remember which one, but just based on the seeds, it's one or the other. And then the ones on the corners of, and those were like in the front of the front yard fence. And then the ones on the corners of the beds and in the corners of the front yard were skyscraper. So this is the first year I grew those. I grew the other 2 varieties. And then when I realized as I was getting prepared for today, I didn't grow this year, but I grew last year, was pike. P-I-K-E, and I really liked that sunflower growing, as well as kind of the size of the seeds that came out, and you know, how big the actual seed inside of the shell was as well. So I'm going to make a note to make sure I grow that again next year. And all of these larger ones, based on the packaging, they grow anywhere from 12 to 16 feet. And I think we got pretty close to that this year. Now, there is still a little bit of dampness to the actual and softness to the actual heads. And that's making it a little bit harder to dislodge the seeds. But I think some of these other ones are a little bit drier and they should pop out a little bit easier. And so for the ones that I harvest to eat, I will remove the debris, kind of sift through it, because there are the petals and things that are still here. I'll give everything a good rinse once the seeds have been dislodged, and then we'll get to kind of prepping them for next steps. Soak everything in a saltwater bath, like a kosher salt, like a big box of that, and I'll use that. And so it's a 1/4 cup of salt for every 1 quart of water. And I'll just scale up based on how much water I need to cover the seeds. I'll leave them soaking for a few hours, and then I'll come back. And so for the ones that I plan on roasting, I'll have those sit and kind of lay flat, nothing overlapping. I'll let them dry, just air dry, probably for a few hours. Then I'll put those kind of pan by pan into an oven. I think last year I did like 300 degrees at like 15 minutes or so, 300 degrees Fahrenheit. But you want to keep an eye on them to make sure that they don't burn. And then the ones that I don't plan on roasting, I'll just, again, after that salt water brine and bath, I'll drain them. I won't rinse them again because I do want a tinge of salt on the shells, but I'll lay those out flat as well. And I'll let those dry probably, you know, I think the minimum is probably 8 hours or so, but they'll probably sit in their place for a day or two before I store all of these. And I've been using mason jars to store them, which has worked really well. So mason jars, tight top, anything that is or eliminate the amount of air that gets into the container, it's going to be just fine for it. So thanks for spending some time with me. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them below, and I shall see you all on the next one.